Rolling Stone, Rachel Maddow, many local outlets all pushed a fake news story about how hospital beds in Oklahoma were filling up because people were taking ivermectin and overdosing. Well, Fox News reports Rolling Stone forced to issue an update after viral hospital ivermectin story turns out to be false. The Northeastern Hospital System released a statement contradicting the story. Now, many outlets have not corrected this story. In fact, the doctor in question who gave the statement about people taking too much ivermectin says that he was misquoted in the first place. But you can see the very extreme political tribalism around ivermectin and how media outlets won't correct or are willing to lie or play the dirty game of, well, we never reported it happened. We reported that some guy said it happened. I love it. I love it. Now, let me tell you the importance of this video. You see, I'm going to very easily debunk the lies about these hospitals being flooded with people guzzling horse paste. But Rachel Maddow says that they were. I mean, it's right there. Quote, patients overdosing on ivermectin backing up rural Oklahoma hospitals and ambulances. The scariest one I've heard of and seen is people coming in with vision loss, he said. Okay, well, let me break down all of the lies and get to the truth. And I'll start with the truth about ivermectin. Well, I shouldn't say the truth because I'm not a doctor. And when it comes to medication, you should talk to somebody that you know and trust and is willing to assume legal liability for the medical decisions they give you or medical advice they give you. It's not me. I can't do that. I'll say a few things. Ivermectin is a powerful anti-parasitic. Powerful, I'll say that in the economic sense, meaning the World Health Organization has it listed as an essential drug. It cures river blindness. It's used to treat, I think, like lice and other things as a topical ointment. And you can get it at Walgreens if your doctor prescribes it to you. It is not, however, authorized or approved by the FDA for use in treating COVID. Now, there have been a lot of people who are completely anti-establishment, don't trust the media, don't trust the government outright, and they're the ones touting the benefits. Why? Well, they're promising studies saying that Oxford did a study. Oxford is currently, I believe they're currently doing a study, and this is reported by Reuters, that they've seen some positive effects from treating people with COVID early with ivermectin, saying that it prevented viral replication to a certain degree. However, there are many studies, and I've pulled them up even on Timcast IRL, showing that it's inconclusive, that nothing significant happened when they were treating people with ivermectin. And thus, we don't know. Because I'll tell you, look, if you want to assert political tribalism, I'm sure you'll have all the answers. You'll either say it's horse paste and it's killing you, or you'll say it's a wonder drug. But the reality is we don't know. And I tell people this is why you got to be careful about the culture war and how every side has their tribal beliefs and will hold their tribal positions. The reality is there are a lot of questions to be asked. There's questions about profit motive for big pharma. There's questions about Pfizer. They're coming out with a new antiviral pill. I think it's in the second stage of a phase 3 trial that would prevent COVID. It's hard to know what the truth is. Now, I tend to think the establishment is overt, authoritarian, and lies all the time. And I tend to think that often you'll find on the right some of this sometimes, because of course it's not absolute, but a lot of people just distrusting and swing too hard in the other direction. So here's what I see. There is some truth to the story about people overdosing on ivermectin. I've read the articles. What you got to understand is many of these stories are not outright saying that someone got prescribed a medication by their doctor and ended up in the hospital. They're not saying that somebody went to Tractor Supply, bought horse paste, and took a tiny little bit and tried it out. No, they're saying that people took full tubes of 1,250-pound horse medicine and ingested it. The problem is this story isn't true. There have been some cases of people ingesting large quantities of horse paste. Please do not do this. And then you'll get people on the other side saying it's a lie, it's fake news, and it's hard to navigate through this. Now, my friends, of course, you watching this video, I suspect many of you have done a lot of the research already. You've read the articles. You're here on YouTube searching for this stuff. Many of you may be true believers, but I tell you this, the purpose of this story is to break down the lies and to call out the establishment machine, their anti-science rhetoric, and the creepiness of their, scientism. There's I was thinking about that. I was watching this video, Trudeau, it's going viral because he's saying like there's a contingent of anti-vaxxer mobs. I don't want to call them protesters. And we gotta lock the country down and do provincial passports and all this other crazy stuff. And he said there are people who don't trust the science. And I'm like, the science. When the state says the science, they're not talking about actual science. Science can be questioned. Science can be challenged. That's what makes it science. They're talking about scientism. This idea that if the state mandates it, it's true. And I remember talking about, what was it, Galileo, the guy who's persecuted by the church or the state or whatever. He said the earth was round, or we lived in a heliocentric universe or galaxy or whatever. The authority figure, whatever it may be, the church or the state, doesn't matter. They say you are challenging, preconceptions. You are challenging mainstream thought, and it's heretical. That's what they're doing right now. No. We should absolutely challenge the science, as it were. But at the same time, we try to lean in favor of the science to the best of our abilities. Let me tell you something. I've talked to people who have been pro-ivermectin, and I'm like, I've got studies here saying you're wrong. Why should I just believe you? Is it because I know the media lies, I should just believe you? No, absolutely not. You can distrust the majority of the media, the great majority, to be completely honest, because they're pumping out garbage. But that doesn't just mean that someone else is telling you the truth because someone else is lying. There's questions about ivermectin. People are saying, it's because they can't make money off it or anything like that. Or, that, I don't know. That's a hard, I guess there's profit motive for big corporations. But then it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe, sure, I guess. But for the time being, I don't know how that's supposed to make me change my opinion on what the current scientific literature says. You can point to countries and their hard numbers on COVID cases. And I look at Sweden. People are like, hey, look at India. They prescribed ivermectin. I'm like, yeah, look at Sweden. They also had no lockdowns. There are countries that did a bunch of different things. Anyway, I digress. Listen, there are good things about ivermectin. We don't know about COVID, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you what is true or what is not. I'm going to tell you to go talk to a doctor because I don't know. We've got political interests, and we've got people trying to push agendas, which brings me to the actual story, so I should slow down on the rant and actually tell you what happened. So first, let me show you this from K4.com, and I'll stress this point. Show this to your friends. All right, that's the point of this video, because I'm going to sit here and tell you, don't eat horse paste, and I do not believe, as of right now, we have any conclusive evidence to claim that ivermectin is working towards ending COVID. I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I've listened to Brett Weinstein, and I've looked at the data, and I say, who am I supposed to trust? Now, I understand why Brett Weinstein is trusted. Smart guy, evolutionary biologist and all that stuff. But I'm just not going to believe someone because, I'm told to disbelieve someone. So I'll put it this way. Joe Rogan got COVID. He was prescribed monoclonal antibodies, Z-Pak, ivermectin, a bunch of other drugs. He's fine now. But that's between him and his doctor, and I don't know. I don't. And that's why I say it's between you and your doctor. Talk about these articles to a trusted medical professional and see what they tell you. But I'll tell you this right now. I don't know what you want me to say to you if I can pull up scientific research saying it's ineffective and scientific research saying it's effective and it's inconclusive at this point. Positive studies, mind you. As to the argument that the only reason it's not being approved, some people have said the only reason it's not being approved is because it would end the emergency use authorization for the vaccines. That doesn't make sense either, because Regeneron's monoclonal antibodies are authorized under the EUA. So if there was any data to suggest that ivermectin would be useful, then there's no reason the FDA wouldn't just say, okay, we'll do an EUA. I think there's a possibility, and it's what you need to consider, whether you like it or not. If we don't know for sure, like we know monoclonal antibodies work, okay? So Joe Rogan gets monoclonal antibodies, and now he's better, now he's COVID negative. He also did get Z-Pak and ivermectin, which complicates the data point, but I digress. If we've given people monoclonal antibodies, Trump himself got it, and then they got better. So we have data to suggest that this does work. I mean, it's giving someone antibodies, so their body fights the virus. We can say, okay, if people start taking this, we believe it will reduce COVID. With ivermectin, if we have studies that are inconclusive or showing no positive results, and you start advocating for it, the concern isn't overdosing. The concern is that it's not doing anything, and then people think they're treating it, they're not, and then they spread it more. Now, granted, I definitely think that the whole thing's overhyped and insane. And you take a look at Australia and these other countries, they're going absolutely insane. But I also think that's something to consider. You should consider that Rachel Maddow is lying to you and the media is lying, calling it horse dewormer and other garbage. Because it is an essential medication, according to the World Health Organization, for river blindness and other topical parasites. But for me to come out and be like, I've done the research and here's what I think, it would just be tribalism. So find someone you know and trust, like Joe Rogan did, and you figure it out. But here was the story. K4 reported, a rural Oklahoma doctor said patients who are taking the horse dewormer medication ivermectin to fight COVID-19 are causing emergency room and ambulance backups. There's a reason you have to have a doctor to get a prescription for this stuff, because it can be dangerous, said Dr. Jason McElia. Dr. McElia said patients are packing his eastern and southeastern Oklahoma hospitals after taking ivermectin doses meant for a full-size horse because they believed false claims that horse dewormer could fight COVID-19. Now, there's two big problems there. Ingesting an entire tube of horse-level medication is different from like getting a doctor's tiny human dose prescription. Don't conflate them. So here's the problem. Yes, I'm sorry, my friends. People are dumb. They're going to Tractor Supply. No joke. I went to Tractor Supply because we have chicks. We have they're called Black Stars. Okay, so we have barred Plymouth Rock chickens, and we've bred them with Rhode Island Reds. And you get these really cool. They're called sex-linked chickens. You can tell if they're boys or girls, and they're beautiful. They're very cute little poofy balls. So we're getting supplies for our baby chicks at Tractor Supply. Dude, the horse paste aisle is empty. I'm not kidding. I went in there and I saw it, and there's like very few tubes left of this horse medication. So ivermectin does kill parasites and deworm. And they make these tubes that are for 1,250-pound horses. There are several stories I've read. Not that it's filling up hospitals, not that it's the apocalypse, where people have ingested a horse-level tube. Now, if you want to say this, that patients are taking doses meant for full horses, I facepalm and say, dude, please don't be stupid. Don't do anything like this. Don't go to a Tractor Supply and eat horse medication. There is another important point when it comes to the FDA. They've stated the issue with horse medication, specifically formulated, is that there are certain things that wouldn't pass muster for FDA authorization in human use, meaning people might be like, oh, look, there's a high level of lead in this. I'm not saying there is. I'm just saying, like, imagine if they were like doing animal testing and they're like, well, horses are big, so they can easily handle this amount of lead, or they have a different liver. Cats, for instance, can drink salt water. You can't. So there might be, yeah, it is ivermectin, but what else is in it? When they formulate things for humans, they say, okay, we can't have this level of stuff because it would make humans sick. Horses tend to tolerate this better, and it's cheap, so who cares? That's the main issue with horse paste and why you shouldn't be taking it. Now, here's the problem. Joe Rogan did not ingest horse paste. At least I hope not, but I believe it is reasonable to assume that if he also got monoclonal antibodies, when Joe Rogan goes to the doctor, he's prescribed medication, which includes human-type ivermectin. Not that I'm saying it works. I'm saying that's between him and his doctor, and it's different from horse paste at Tractor Supply with different ingredients. The problem is the media then all starts claiming that it was horse dewormer medication, saying, formulated for horses and things like that. Look what they put. A rural Oklahoma doctor said patients who are taking the horse dewormer medication, ivermectin. No. You stop right there. Imagine if I said, a rural Oklahoma doctor said patients who are taking the dog painkiller, ibuprofen. No, there are dog versions of ibuprofen, and they're formulated differently. That's true. And the thing is, dogs can't eat avocados or grapes or onions and garlic. Yeah, they can't eat the same things we can. So we make different versions for different animals. That's the important consideration. But I wouldn't call ibuprofen dog medicine. Well, here you go, my friends. Rachel Maddow pushing the lie. Rolling Stone having to put out their big update. Oh, they couldn't put a correction. So here's the story. Let me break it down for y'all. Rolling Stone was forced to issue an update to its viral story about Oklahoma hospitals being overwhelmed by patients who overdosed on the drug ivermectin after the doctor it cited was contradicted by the hospitals he referenced. On Friday, the Liberal magazine published testimony from Dr. Jason McElia, who told a local news station that hospitals were being overrun from patients overdosing on ivermectin, which resulted in other patients waiting for treatment. Mikelia claimed the situation was so bad that gunshot victims were being neglected. The ERs are so backed up that gunshot victims are having hard times getting to facilities where they can get definitive care and be treated. The story, which originally appeared on Oklahoma's K4 TV News, was widely shared by reporters, including Rachel Maddow. Fellow MSNBC left-wing anchor Joy Reid also promoted the story on her show. All lies, however. They say, however, the Northeastern Hospital System, which Mikelia works for, issued a statement regarding, I think we just pulled up the statement, his association with the hospital report in the story. The NHS revealed while Mikelia is affiliated with a medical staffing group, he has not worked at the location in question for 2 months, nor has he treated any ivermectin overdoses, saying, quote, although Dr. Jason Mikelia is not an employee of NHS Sequoia, he is affiliated with a medical staffing group that provides coverage for our emergency room. With that said, Dr. Mikelia has not worked at our Salasol location in over 2 months. NHS Sequoia has not treated any patients due to complications related to taking ivermectin. This includes not treating any patients for ivermectin overdoses. It was a lie. Now we know Rachel Maddow is a liar. Her job is to deceive. NPR puts out these stories. NPR put out a story where they claimed that Joe Rogan took a horse deworming medication formulated for horses. Well, of course he didn't. That's insane. But that's what they do. They say, furthermore, the NHS insisted that patients are not being turned away for any emergency care. So I tell you this, man, the campaign is ramping up. But look at this. From News on 6, Oklahoma's own. Oklahoma doctor at Center of Viral Ivermectin Story says report is wrong. The doctor himself is saying he's being misquoted. A false report has Oklahoma trending nationally. The story claims hospitals in the state are being overrun by people overdosing on the horse antiparasitic ivermectin as a treatment for COVID-19. Horse antiparasitic. Could you please just call it ivermectin? I guess if they want to say it's specifically about people eating horse paste from Tractor Supply, then they should probably say that and then mention, while ivermectin is a drug that is FDA approved for human use as an antiparasitic, it is not approved for use in treating COVID, nor are we talking about people being prescribed medication from their doctors. The original story was a little misquoted, he said. As the story ran, it sounded like all of Oklahoma hospitals were filled with people who have overdosed on ivermectin, and that's not the case. The cases we are seeing, people who are overdosing on ivermectin, they are taking full-strength cattle doses and coming in, and that is something that could be avoided. What we can confirm is that we have seen a handful of ivermectin patients in our emergency rooms, to include Integris Grove Hospital. And while our hospitals are not filled with people who have taken ivermectin, such patients are adding to the congestion already caused by COVID-19 and other emergencies. Well, sorry if I don't outright trust this guy, but there have been stories I've read about people who have stupidly ingested a full horse dose of slime from Tractor Supply. Please, my friends, please don't go to Tractor Supply. Don't buy horse tubes, the horse paste tubes. Ivermectin is a essential drug according to the World Health Organization, but not when it's just mass produced for horse ingestion. Now, that being said, as for ivermectin's efficacy, what am I supposed to do? I know there's a lot of people who get mad and they're like, Tim, you need to talk about this. I'm like, dude, who am I, some guy in my room, to assert any scientific data or who is right or who is wrong on this? Now, I like Brett Weinstein. I think he's a smart guy. I think his brother is as well. Very brilliant individuals that I trust. But just because I might like them or listen to the podcast ever so often doesn't mean I believe he's 100% correct about this. It means I need proof. And you know what may be happening? The proof is all jammed up due to political tribalism. That could be the case as well. In which case, my only recommendation is, bro, you need to find someone that you actually trust who's done the research. Now, I've read into all of this, and what do I see? I see inconclusive studies. I see studies saying that actually there are many studies that are positively that are saying that ivermectin is effective. Many studies, but there are many studies saying that those studies were bad. That many studies saying it's inconclusive. And at that point, I say, politics is making a mess of this. There have been many arguments made about ivermectin simply because they say, well, why not then? They say, if it's safe for human consumption at certain doses because it's used to treat certain parasites, why not just take it anyway? And the issue, I think, is if people think it's helping them and it's not, they won't seek other treatments. Joe Rogan got monoclonal antibodies. If Joe Rogan really believed that ivermectin was good on its own, why didn't he just go with that? No, he got monoclonal antibodies, okay? That is the Regeneron treatment. That Regeneron's the brand. You know, I flubbed that last time. That's why I'm like, look, man, if you don't know, the best thing you can do is ignore Rachel Maddow. Ignore anybody on the internet telling you what you should or shouldn't be doing with this. Certainly, they're entitled to their opinions, but not making up facts. Now, I'm not accusing Brett Weinstein of doing that. I think the issue is when I talk to these people who are pro-ivermectin, they've continually cited, they've been like, look at these 53 studies. And I'm like, look at these 50 studies over here saying the opposite. Like, why should I trust you? Because we know the media is lying to us? Okay, sure. I'm sorry. I need evidence. I'm not going to blindly believe someone simply because they say someone else is lying. Because the idea that there's two sides of every story isn't actually the case. There's multiple sides here. And you've got a vested interest from people who think big pharma's bad. And, I do. Yeah, I absolutely think they're manipulative. But I also think big pharma does make medications that are good. It's not so easy just to say 100% good, 100% bad. Here's what I can tell you. The one thing you can take away from all of this. Hey, the media lied. They're lying. So I tell you why I do a video in this way. For one, I'm sincere when I say, if you come to me and tell me you like ivermectin for these reasons and all these studies, and the Frontline Doctors group has said it, I'll be like, am I supposed to just ignore all the other studies for political reasons? I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can ignore the fake news lies. You can tell me the studies are bad, but they say your studies are bad. So what am I supposed to conclude? So I'll tell you this. If you consider yourself to be a sane, rational human being, well, of course, you just go to your doctor, right? Here's the issue I take. When I've told people on Twitter to go talk to their doctors, what happens? The left, I'm sorry, it is. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not trying to be biased. It's literally the left who tells me who yells at me, why would I advocate for people going to their doctors? I'm trying to scare them. And I'm like, are you nuts? Telling people to go seek a trusted medical professional? I'll tell you why. There are many people on the right who have said, oh, but our doctors will just tell us to get the vaccine or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, there's your doctor's advice. Yeah, but my doctor doesn't know anything about this. Then find a doctor who does. And that's the issue. If you are a skeptic and you go to a doctor who's a Trump supporter, when you walk in, he's wearing a MAGA hat and he hands you a MAGA flag. He knows his stuff. It doesn't change the fact he went to medical school and is going to give you advice. We've had many conservatives, Trump supporters who have come on Timcast IRL who have had Trump supporting doctors administer the vaccine, advise them to get it. If you have a doctor you know and trust, you're going to get better medical care. Now, when these people come out and lie, that's why they don't want you talking to your trusted medical professional. That's why they say, no, just go do it. Just go to the parking lot and get the vaccine. I'm like, just go give someone your medical history, talk about what makes sense for you, your family, and your future, and make the decision that's right for you. I'm not here to give medical advice. I'm here to talk about how there's people in media across the board who are pushing ideas when they're either unqualified or manipulative. And there are certainly many doctors who are saying don't take ivermectin, and I don't think they're partisan hacks. And there are certainly people on the right who are advocating for ivermectin who I don't think are partisan hacks. And because of this, the point is moot. I can just tell you this. Regardless of what you think about it, I can show you Rachel Maddow lied. Rolling Stone put out fake news. They aren't issuing corrections. The doctor has come out and said it was misquoted. 2 Oklahoma hospitals differ on doctors' claims over ivermectin overdoses. Here's the important thing. Don't go to Tractor Supply. Look, there was that story about the wife who ate the hydroxychloroquine fish stuff and got sick and died. A lot of questions around that one, but the point is, I made it, but I'll end with this. Animal grade products are different from human grade products. And although you may find that the horse paste says ivermectin and Walgreens sells a tablet that says ivermectin, they're still not the same thing. Horses might have stronger livers or kidneys, may be able to tolerate certain things humans can't. And then when they make it, they're like, oh, it doesn't matter that this mineral is in it because it's for horses and horses are fine with it, but humans might not be. That's why you go to a doctor and you ask them questions about all this stuff. And if you don't trust the doctor, get a second opinion. You're allowed to do that. But the media lies. I don't want to rant on this stuff. I say the same thing on all this stuff over and over again, so I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.